Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to ZEElay, a multiple delay line effect that can be played with MIDI notes. To get going with ZEElay, just find it in your VST folder and load it up onto any track that produces audio. And then, and this is a really important part, you have to send MIDI notes to ZEElay to get it to work. So we're going to go over here to this empty MIDI track, MIDI to track 3, where ZEElay lives, and you'll see that it links into ZEElay right away. All right, now any note that I play in this channel will control ZEElay. Let's listen to it. Now, at first, you will hear that ZEElay sounds a little bit low pass, and that's because each individual delay module has a low pass built into it. These low pass filters can be controlled with the envelope that is built into ZEElay, and that depth is right here. And next to that, we also had feedback envelope depths. So listen to how this livens up when we start applying a little bit of envelope. Envelopes can also go inverse. And then we can control the feedback with the envelope as well. Each delay module is labeled A, B, C, D, E, and F. And each one has their own settings for what kind of delay you're going to get. Probably the most important setting, though, is the ratio. The ratio takes the incoming MIDI note value and takes that frequency and multiplies it by this number. So if you are hitting A440 and this ratio is at 2, you're going to hear a delay line of 880. So an octave higher. But where is that going to be? That is going to be panned over to the left, and we're processing the left channel with input A here. So let's also make B 1, and then we'll get creative with these other ratios. We'll say, hey, we'll put you up at 5, and let's just keep going. Now, the cool thing about harmonic ratios is, well, when you look at a ratio, you normally see 2 numbers. And one of those numbers is basically a multiplier, and the other one's a divider. So all of these individual modules have their multipliers, but the divider is global, and that one is right here, the freak divider. So anything this number is, that is what the incoming fundamental harmonic is going to be divided by. So divided by 2, you're going to get an octave lower. And that makes every module an octave lower, whatever its current ratio is. So we can keep going down, and we'll suddenly get to the rhythmic domain. And since rhythms are kind of ratios on their own, you can find some really interesting polyrhythms down here if you explore enough. And my favorite part about ZEElay is that you can move between the rhythmic and tonal domains sort of freely. Individual modules themselves have some interesting settings in there. Each one comes with an LFO, which moves that module's low-pass filter up and down. So if you want to lean into making a very spatialized stereo sound with ZEElay, you can just start turning up the depths and go all the way around, and all of the different low-pass cutoffs will be moving independently of one another. You could also, turn some of these down. The low pass on A, B, and C, and D, for instance, we could turn way low, and then maybe keep these other ones in the middle. Let's hear how that sounds. The other really neat thing that you can do here is you can invert the depth here. So we're going to go with the filter envelope depth high, but we'll turn the feedback envelope depth low. And what we'll do is we'll have the feedback high already by default. So whenever a note hits, the feedback's actually going to go down. Let's hear how that sounds. You hear how that kind of sounds like a sidechain effect when each note hits, the delay kind of slides back in. That's a really fun sound. And that's pretty much all there is to it. You can put ZEElay into a return channel. You can put it on your master channel. You can use notes to play it. You can play it with your keyboard. What you can't do yet is you can't do polyphonic. You can only do monophonic. But one thing that I suggest personally is to play around with different MIDI effects. You know, if you did have a chord progression, you can go ahead and arpeggiate it, and each one of those notes is going to trigger the envelope, and you know, you can make some really cool sounds.